Childhood in the Suburbs. My name is Alex, and I grew up in a typical Connecticut suburb. It's the kind of place where there are more Dunkin' Donuts than traffic lights, and where everyone knows everyone else and knows everything about them. My father is a high school math teacher, an old math teacher, the kind of guy who's always ready to tell some silly old joke that will stick in your memory forever. When I was a kid, both my parents worked at my school. One was a teacher, and my mom became a librarian at the local elementary school. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor either. We lived in a small 3-bedroom house with no central heating, almost no insulation, and a backyard so tiny that every year my father tried unsuccessfully to grow tomatoes. My older sister Emma was the best student in the family. She got straight A's, was captain of the debate team, and was the teacher's favorite. I was one of those introverted, nerdy kids. I loved video games and learned to program in the hope that it would make me cool someday. A new beginning. Meeting Sarah. The real story began when I was 6 years old. That's when Sarah and her family moved into the house next door. She was 5 at the time, with blonde hair and funny glasses that were so big she looked like a little owl. I remember the day they moved in. Their truck was parked 3 houses down from ours. Lisa, Sarah's mom, finally convinced my mom to help them unpack. They were both big Stephen King fans, so they hit it off right away and talked for hours. Sarah and I ended up hanging out together on the same day she moved in. Our moms made us play together while they drank coffee. It was a little awkward at first. I was shy and would have preferred to play Pokemon by myself. But then she saw my Nintendo 64 and beat me at Mario Kart. Blue shells. Perfect drifts. I didn't stand a chance. From that day on, she seemed to latch onto everything she found interesting. Our families spent time together, too. Barbecues, trips to the countryside, which inevitably ended in disaster because neither of our fathers could figure out how to put up a tent. Holiday parties. Sarah's father, Mike, who looked like he could lift a truck with his bare hands, was a former military man who was completely devoted to his work, cried at Disney movies, and worked in construction. He helped with home repairs, which always ended with drinking beer and arguing about the Yankees and the Red Sox. Sarah and I were in the same class from elementary school, small town, one school and all that. I helped her with math, she helped me with English. We lived 3 houses apart, so we were always at each other's houses. We even had our own secret knock, 3 loud knocks, a pause, 2 slow ones, like super spies. But in middle school, something changed. Samantha. And then we went through that big, awkward childhood phase when puberty hit and kids started teasing us that the 3 of us were dating. In 7th grade, we didn't talk to each other for 2 weeks because, I'm not kidding, of a rumor that started because we all stayed after school at the same time. It was Jessica Martinez's idea, who came up with it at lunch, and Sarah ended up yelling at her, and for some reason that was totally fine. I guess that was middle school logic. It seemed to me that our parents always took it for granted that we would get married. They didn't pressure us, but during movie nights in the basement, they would exchange meaningful glances. My mom, like all moms, has albums and walls full of photos dedicated to memories from our childhood, smiles with gaps between our teeth, uncoordinated dancing, and yes, my unfortunate highlights phase. The beauty of our friendship was that we were different, but in the best sense of the word. I could sit at the computer for hours. Sarah was like a room full of people, and everyone in that room fell in love with her. But we were both fans of horror movies and the same video games. We watched The Ring when we were really young and scared ourselves to death. It wasn't a normal friendship, it was 15 years of family holidays and important events. When I got into college, Sarah was the first person I told. She and her mom went to pick out a dress for prom. It was in high school that everything started to change. Sarah finally got contact lenses, and I shot up in height. We were still best friends, hanging out in my basement, talking, doing homework, eating my mom's cookies. Then, in my sophomore year at the homecoming carnival, Jake Thompson asked Sarah out on a date. Jake from high school was a typical football player. Tall, handsome, drove a BMW, and had superpowers of charm. And for some reason that really pissed me off. I didn't even know why. All I did was call him Dumb Jock. He was a great guy. He's a pediatrician now. But I was an idiot for being so jealous of him. Sarah told me exactly what she thought during one of our study groups. Sarah: why are you so mean to Jake? Me: I'm not being rude. Sarah: you just said his brain is basically protein powder. Me: maybe it is. Sarah: oh my God, are you jealous? Me, blushing: what? No, that's stupid. Plot twist: I was jealous. I just didn't realize it took me a whole year to figure that out. When we were in our junior year, we were both in advanced classes. I was having a lot of trouble with calculus, so we started studying together on the weekends. And then, one Saturday, something changed. I noticed how she wrinkled her nose when she was struggling, how she tapped her pencil on her lips when she was thinking, and how she beamed when she figured something out. She looked up, saw me watching her, and I held my breath. I knocked over a can of Mountain Dew. She wiped up some of the spill and, checking to see if any was left, hit me on the head. Yes, very clever. But then, right there in the mud, she kissed me. I mean, she literally grabbed my face and kissed me. Some nervous switch flipped, and a few seconds later I was back in the world. When we finally surfaced to breathe, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. What about Jake? She laughed. It turned out that Jake had invited her to the carnival just so she could help him ask my sister Emma out. Everyone knew except me. After that, everything was just lovely. We tried to hide our relationship, but we weren't very good at it. My mom caught us kissing in the kitchen. Sarah's dad caught us holding hands while watching a movie. It was somehow more intimate than a kiss. The reaction was priceless. Our moms patted each other on the back. My dad once had the strangest talk with me, which was full of car comparisons. For Sarah's dad, a former soldier, talk meant downing a week's worth of whiskey he kept on the porch of his cabin, where his hunting rifle was stored. He warned me that if I ever made his daughter cry, they wouldn't be able to find all the pieces. Then he asked if I wanted a beer and if I wanted to watch the game. Classic dad move. Senior year of high school, we were that couple, taking classes together, going to football games. She cheered, I trembled in the stands, wearing matching Halloween costumes. We even dressed up as Mario and Luigi. She was Mario, of course, because she always beat me at video games. But college is a different story. I enrolled at RIT in the computer science department. Sarah enrolled at UConn in the business marketing department, 5 hours apart. We had a long, tearful conversation and decided to try a long-distance relationship. Young love, right? The first semester went well. We FaceTimed every night at 10 if I wasn't busy programming. We were constantly in touch, synced our Netflix shows, and one of us would come home for the weekend, usually me because she had cheerleading practice on Saturdays. And I have to say, 5 hours in a shaky 2008 Civic with no heat is not as cute as the movies make it out to be. That strong belief that the person sleeping next to you tonight will never, ever, ever stab you in the heart, that belief, it shattered into a million pieces. It was Tuesday in March. You know how I always talk about working on this huge project at the office? Well, that was the night of our big system launch, the event that was supposed to define my entire life and career. I had been programming for 14 hours straight, and my only source of energy was cheap energy drinks and a nasty microwave burrito sold in a dark corner on the corner. I received the last email at 2 a.m., and my phone died. The battery was dead, and I couldn't find the charger. It was only later that I found it near the radiator, where it had been shoved by our one-eyed chaos gremlin, Mr. Whiskers the cat. I was going to write to Jake, my manager, about a critical bug that needed to be fixed. Sarah was already asleep, so I decided to grab her phone and send a quick message on Discord. And then my world fell apart. As soon as I unlocked her phone, we both knew each other's passwords then as now, a message preview appeared on the screen. It was from Chris. Yes, that Chris. The one she met at the marketing club she was a member of. The message read, "I miss you, baby. I can't wait." You know what I mean. I should have woken her up and asked her, but something deep down already knew. You know that feeling when your body senses that something is wrong, and you feel this coldness and heaviness in your chest? It hit me like a punch in the gut. I opened their messages. God, I wish I hadn't. There were hundreds of other messages, months of messages, photos, hotel reservations, inside jokes, personal plans. Those long nights at the office were never for the good of his company. And marketing society reunions? Pure fiction. Chris wasn't just an old friend. He was her boss, the head of her department. He was 15 years older than her, married, with children. They had been sleeping together for almost as long as Sarah and I had been living together. Here are a few messages I'll remember forever. I can't wait for you to finally leave him. Last night was amazing. He's so clueless, still working on that stupid proposal. Yes, she knew about the ring. My sister let it slip. I just sat there, in my own house, frozen on the IKEA couch we had all assembled together, laughing at the Swedish names and missing screws. I sat there, and it felt like hours went by, scrolling through message after message, each one seeming more painful than the last. Then Mr. Whiskers knocked something off the kitchen table. The noise woke Sarah. Everyone needs rituals, and mine in the wee hours of the morning is to stoke the wood stove and sit in the dark, sipping tea while everyone else wakes up to a new day. She stumbled out of bed and asked why I wasn't asleep yet. I didn't say a word. I just picked up her phone. I'll never forget her face. Not the guilt, not the shock, just annoyance, as if I had ruined her evening by finding out what was going on. Then came the strangest conversation in the world. She didn't deny anything. She just stood there in those stupid pajamas with little cats that I gave her for Christmas and said that Chris was her soulmate, that she had been waiting for the right moment to tell me. The right moment? After 20 years of friendship, 5 years of being together? When we had already built a life together? I couldn't take it. Not in the sense that I became aggressive. I'm not that kind of person. But I laughed. It was an empty, broken laugh, more like crying. I asked her if the right moment always came and went during family dinners, or on those nights when I lay awake hugging her while she cried about stress at work, stress that, let's be honest, was probably caused by guilt toward her boss. She started crying and called me cruel. Cruel. I told her to leave. Just take everything you need and get out of here. Go to your parents, to Chris, anywhere. You're not staying here. But it's 2 a.m, she said, as if I was the one being unreasonable. I replied, you should have thought about that when you were sleeping with your boss for a year. Not my finest moment, but I think I was allowed to be a little petty. Fausto's purgatory and legal hell, framed and erased. She gathered her bag, and I was left alone with Mr. Whiskers, who seemed to be watching the most exciting, dramatic event of his 9-life existence. Okay, we need to talk about this seriously, she said to him before leaving. Tomorrow. The next morning, I changed the locks. But you know what? That's not even the worst part. It didn't break me. What happened next? And then everything really went downhill. Remember I told you that her father, Mike, was a scary ex-military man, and that her mother, Lisa, was like a second mother to me? We both grew up in strong families. But Sarah played another card, and without hesitation. The day after I kicked her out, I shut myself off from everything. I called work and said I was sick. Thanks a lot to Jake, who just said, take as much time as you need. I turned off my phone and spent the whole day cleaning to relieve the stress, with Mr. Whiskers standing over me like a one-eyed dwarf guard. I found one of her hair ties under the couch and burst into tears. Typical reaction after a breakup. But around 7 p.m., the landline rang. Yes, I still had a landline. I hope you and the rest of the world were as annoyed and frustrated as I was for the last 5 minutes while I called some angry woman in Brooklyn who didn't have Fios. My house had terrible cell phone reception, another Connecticut problem. It turned out to be my sister Emma, and she was furious. "What did you do?" she yelled. While I searched for spices, tears fighting to escape from under my sunglasses, Sarah got down to business. She told everyone what had happened. Her story? I cheated on her with a girl from work. Complete lie. The only woman I've ever talked to is Linda from HR. She's 60 years old and talks about her grandchildren at meetings. I yelled at her and kicked her out in the middle of the night. The only thing that was true was night. I became emotionally abusive, controlling, and looked through her phone. The cherry on top? I stole her mother's family heirloom, $50,000 worth of jewelry. That last one hit a nerve. When the smoke cleared, even she, Lisa, who noticed the jewelry was missing before all this happened. Sarah convinced her to put off reporting it, said she should look for the jewelry in the house. Who do you think had a key to the apartment? Yes, me. Guess who walked in unaccompanied and helped her father with the equipment? Me too. And then they could get to work. I tried to call my parents. No answer. I tried calling Sarah. Blocked. Mutual friends blocked me or wrote that I was trash. Only Emma stayed with me. Her words, "You're a fool, but you're not a liar." Then the Facebook posts appeared. Lisa wrote about betrayal, tagged my parents, and allowed people to crucify me in the comments. Finally, my mom called. And believe me, nothing hurts as much as hearing your own mother cry and ask, "Why did you do this?" without even letting you explain. I tried. I mentioned the messages, the affair, but Sarah had already told everyone. She told everyone it was all a lie, revenge. And I, never took screenshots until she deleted everything. I had no proof. Then the cops showed up. 2 cops, stone-faced, asking for specific dates that matched exactly when I was at her parents' house. They caught me on CCTV cameras when I was coming and going. I told them I was there because I'm family. I dated their daughter for a while. I was helping her father with his computer. They took notes. They didn't seem convinced. 3 days later, they came back with a warrant. I was arrested in front of the entire office. Linda from HR was in tears. Jake dropped his coffee. I wasn't released from county jail until 3 nights later. My cellmate, Big Mike, was cool. He shared his sausage sandwich with me. He told me his theory that pigeons are government drones. Still, it wasn't exactly how I imagined my 27th year would be. They found nothing and let me go. But the damage was done. The return, redemption, restoration, and a second chance that can be given not only to the chosen few, but to everyone. At work, I was put in human resources, and Linda didn't even look me in the eye when she told me I was fired. Too many negative reviews in the press, too many questions. Even Jake looked helpless. That's how I ended up unemployed, abandoned, accused, disgraced. My family considered me the worst of men. I had to pay for my apartment. They were going to bleed me dry for court costs. And the only living creature who still believed in me? A one-eyed cat. But you know what the worst part was? That wasn't even the bottom. Sarah wasn't done with me yet, not even close. That night, I broke down, and Dr. Chen later diagnosed me with a complete nervous breakdown. No, I found myself on the floor of my childhood bathroom at 3 a.m., eating stale Oreo cookies and searching the internet for articles on how to become a hermit in Alaska. Mr. Whiskers kept me company, never leaving my side and trying to steal cookies when I wasn't looking. Our true loyalty is to our friends above all else. A friend's intervention. A turning point. I reacted like an idiot to everything. The next morning, I woke up and there was Emma. She looked at the floor covered with cookies, and at that moment, her older sister woke up. She had to spend her savings to hire a real lawyer, whom I still owe to this day. She dragged me into the shower, made me put on something that wasn't Supreme or something like that, and even made me go to the gym because endorphins are magic or something. Then she did the thing that really changed my life. She made me sit down and write a real plan. Not some new age get your act together nonsense, a real hardcore recovery plan, step by step. We even gave it a name. Operation Phoenix. Yes, we're nerds. So what? Emma told me to write down all the details of our conversations, all the false accusations, all the blows that prevented me from finding a job. I started keeping a journal. It sounded absurd, but it actually helped me maintain my sanity. I started getting freelance jobs on Upwork. The pay was terrible, but it was a start. I applied for every certification I could afford. I taught myself cloud architecture because apparently that's where all the money is these days. The gym really came in handy when I was feeling down. Italics advertisement. Who would have thought? Oh yes, everyone. But I was stubborn. My mood improved only slightly. 12 months later, I had a steady job that paid significantly better than my previous one. I even moved into my own apartment, with a luxurious cat tower and all the rest, so Mr. Whiskers is living the good life. I also made some real friends who listened to my whole story and continued to spend time with me. I even got abs. Okay, 2. But they're both worth mentioning. Best of all, my lawyer Maria started smiling at our meetings. That's a very good sign. Was everything perfect? Number I still had nightmares from time to time. Former acquaintances at the store still looked at me strangely. I still couldn't watch a romantic comedy to the end without feeling indignant. But I wasn't just surviving, I was rebuilding my life. And that's when the universe decided to mess with me again. It was a typical Wednesday evening. I had just finished some intense coding and was about to cook a Thai dish, pad Thai with extra peanuts, no judgment. Mr. Whiskers was dancing around before dinner as usual when I heard a knock at the door. I was paranoid. After everything I'd been through, unexpected guests were unwelcome. The Ring doorbell, best investment of my life. I glanced at the camera and saw her, Sarah. There she was in her fancy work clothes, red-eyed and with smeared makeup. My first impulse was to pretend I wasn't home. But then I remembered everything Emma and Dr. Chen had always told me. Look your demons in the eye. Besides, Mr. Whiskers had already meowed, so the secret was out. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. When you climb back up, you become a different person. In the past, I would have thrown open the door, ready for a fight or an apology. But the new me? I pressed record on my phone before opening the door. Confession, the final closure. She looked different. Not bad, just defeated. She tried to hug me. How dare she? I stepped back. Can we talk? She asked, as if we were on the set of a TV show called Long Lost Family. I let her in, mostly to figure out what was going on, but also because Mr. Whiskers was already staring at her intently with his one eye from the tower. What happened next was strange. She burst into tears, and, to be honest, I felt a tiny bit of justice in her unabashed, ugly crying. Then she laid it all out, and it was all recorded on my iPhone, so no one ever found that recording. Chris was a year-long fling. She once sold her mother's jewelry to pay off one of Chris's gambling debts. When she realized she couldn't get the jewelry back, Chris had pawned it. She panicked. And then she threw me under the bus to save her own skin. Chris eventually dumped her for a 22-year-old intern. And then, these were her actual words. I'm sorry I called you a liar and ruined your life. I ruined your career, your family relationships, everything. And now I can't look you in the eye. I couldn't tell you I stole the jewelry. My lawyer later told me those were the sweetest words she had ever heard. Pure gold. As soon as I closed the door, I called Maria. She screamed when I played her the recording. Connecticut has a one-sided consent rule, and Sarah had just handed us a whole stack of legal documents. Here's what happened next. We submitted the recording as evidence in the defamation case and civil lawsuit. The family's lawsuit was immediately dismissed. Sarah's family's lawsuit was immediately dismissed. They are not contesting my counterclaim for defamation and emotional distress. Her company conducted a full investigation into her and Chris. Some old friends started calling and apologizing. The best moment? Her mother, Lisa, listening to the confession on tape in the lawyer's office, watching her grieve over her own daughter who had set her up for her jewelry. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That was 2 months ago. Now Sarah and Chris are under investigation for fraud. I won the lawsuit. The terms of the settlement are still being discussed. My parents have apologized so many times I've lost count. Most of my old friends have reached out and we've made up. Mr. Whiskers? He got a new luxury cat tower. He deserved it. The money won't make up for a year of damage, but it helps. I paid Emma back. I started a therapy fund. I bought a better car. Goodbye, old beat-up Civic. But most importantly, I got my name back. The local TV station that reported my arrest, they did a story about the false accusations and their real consequences. I got a few job offers, but I'm staying with my company. They've been with me through all of this. Conclusion. A new chapter. Here I am. It's been a year and 4 months since my world fell apart. I'm alone. I'm strong. And I'm doing well. It's just me, a one-eyed cat and a clean slate. I'm not where I thought I'd be at 28, but I'm okay with that.